What if the Mimic ended up at Fredbear's family diner after Secret of the Mimic? That's what Meanwhile at Fredbear's is here for. Confirmed by the creator to be taking place right after Secret of the Mimic's Parachute.exe ending, this new fan game explores the Mimic showing up at Fredbear's within a few days after Murray's costume manor burns down. Being the #1 Secret of the Mimic fanatic, I'm sure you can see why this is already one of my most anticipated fan games to date. And this project represents something else very important to this franchise. So let's take a moment, start from the beginning, and comb through all the teasers in detail. It started last July with the creator, Emir Bredi, posting a teaser image of a bobblehead of Fredbear in the darkness, with the bottom text reading, "Property of Fredbear's Family Diner." Then, upon brightening this image, you can make out several MCM mascots: the bird, the elephant, the lion, the birthday puppy, and Swing Bee. There's also this patch of fabric that the bobblehead is placed on, but I can't really figure out what it is. The brightened text now says, "Property of WA" in purple, which obviously is William Afton. This teaser definitely had to be a callback to one of the first OG FNAF 4 teasers, which used the exact same words at the bottom, "Property of Fredbear's Family Diner." This tips you off right away that this will be a Fredbear fan game. However, the inclusion of MCM costumes and the use of William's initials, being like how they were in the game's emails, also tells you right away that this fan game will be including stuff from Secret of the Mimic. The next teaser came out in August, and this was the first trailer, which shows the Mimic hopping into Fredbear, and then you see him on the cameras walking towards the office. Our main character moves to check the door and sees Fredbear standing in the hallway, the Mimic's orange eyes lit up in the suit. All of this happens while a music box cover of Daisy Bell plays in the background, the first song to ever be sung by a computer. Fredbear laughs, and it sounds a lot like the laughs from the FNAF 4 minigames, which is interesting because Emir actually confirmed that this Fredbear's Diner is the same one as the Fredbear's in FNAF 4. From September to November, Emir posted some small clips and images of the main office. There's a large window in front of the desk, along with a vent shaft right next to it, which, now that I think about it, is a pretty similar layout to FNAF 3. A window in front of you, a door on the left, and a vent to the right. Inside the office, there are quite a few familiar devices from Secret of the Mimic. There's the MCM coffee machine on the desk, mycelium men lamps on the drawer, and an MCM coat rack in the corner of the room. Unfortunately, there seems to be no Cleanovac. Those might have all perished in the MCM collapse.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
As for the camera monitor, you may have noticed that it looks almost exactly like HandUnit, and Emir actually posted some other HandUnit-like devices that we'll see in the game. One being a regular computer, another being a camera with an attached loudspeaker, and I think that's a cash register? But now we come to December, where we received the first gameplay trailer of Meanwhile at Fredbear's. The player sits at the office desk and checks the cameras before Fredbear eventually starts walking off the stage. The player rises and moves to the back of the office to flip a lever. It's interesting, the white tiger has also made his way to FREDBEAR'S. In fact, on the same day of the trailer, Emir posted another teaser. A teaser that shows a screen where a cartoonish version of HandUnit is holding a wrench and saying that there's been a system error and a reboot is required. Handyman's Robotics and Unit Repair System LLC. Horror? At first, it seems like just a simple sneak peek at what the gameplay mechanics will be, but then brightening the image reveals White Tiger's eyes, with the bottom text reading, "It's me." The caption of this tweet also reads, "What have you brought home?" The tiger emoji aside, this is another phrase taken from FNAF 4's promotional material, specifically from the trailer. I don't think White Tiger will literally follow the protagonist home. I think this might just be another cool nod to FNAF 4. Then, back in January, we got a new in-game screenshot of White Tiger standing at the office window, peering in with his paws on the glass. This image also shows that curtains have been added to the office window, which are the classic purple FNAF curtains with stars, which are always cute. Which brings us to February and March, where Emir posted a screenshot of Spring Bonnie peeking out of the vent in the office. Before, we got a video clip of Spring Bonnie crawling through the vent on the camera.
Don't be scared, it's your best pal Bonnie!
Finally, the most recent teaser was earlier this month on April 1st. The caption reading, "Something is here." The prototype Springlock suits from the R&D center are in a pile on the floor, surrounded by drawers and boxes. The text reads, "Terrible things come in any size." This is a nod to the original Plush Trap teaser, where Plush Trap was sitting in his iconic chair, and the text above him reading, "Terrible things come in small packages." Brightening the image shows M2 standing in the darkness on the right side, which aligns well with the text as the mimic can literally change his body to be in any size. This is also a really cool callback to FNAF 3's What Can We Use teaser. The mimic standing next to a pile of Springlock suits almost perfectly mirrors Springtrap standing next to a pile of animatronic shells. This is another way of showing off the mimic's whole thing about mimicking. It goes without saying that most, if not all, of the promotional material for this fan game is heavily inspired by FNAF 4's teasers. Property of FREDBEAR'S, the close-up of Fredbear, the Plush Trap teaser, What Have You Brought Home? It's very artsy, and it's also a clever way of bridging old and new FNAF content together. And with FNAF 4 and Secret of the Mimic being so close together in a timeline, how could anyone not take the opportunity to connect them like this, especially with this Fredbear location being the same? It's also a great way of bringing back the classic teasers, which I kinda wish we saw more of with the official projects nowadays. Now that I think about it, I'd love to see this fan game continue the FNAF 4 energy by recreating the "Was It Me" teasers with the Mimic. Maybe they could have each teaser be a different animatronic character worn by the Mimic, and the text for each one would be something like, "Which one am I?" But that being said, with all the current teasers listed, it's time for me to dive into my predictions of this game's plot. The fact that Afton's initials are presented here like how they were in the Secret of the Mimic emails leads me to believe that this fan game will possibly explore William's plan to take over MCM in detail, and what his relationship with Edwin might have been like. This project could also expand on the overall time period between Secret of the Mimic and FNAF 4's daytime events, showing how William repurposed Edwin's property and set things up for the rest of the game timeline to happen, along with more William and Henry stuff as is customary in every FREDBEAR'S fan game. I think this game is going to explore this new route of William and Henry not being the only ones to start Fazbear Entertainment, and how William duped Edwin out of everything he had before purchasing all of his stuff. Speaking of which, that might explain why the prototype Springlock suits are here, because in their teaser image, the shelves they're sitting next to look like the ones from the storage room of FREDBEAR'S, like the ones on the camera. Maybe William had what was left of MCM cleaned out and brought it all over to FREDBEAR'S, which leads me to my next point. I wonder if the Mimic was also brought here by Fazbear Entertainment, but since this takes place after the parachute ending, I'm not entirely sure M2 would allow himself to go to FREDBEAR'S unless he wanted to, but even then, I'm curious as to what he hopes to accomplish there. The summary of this game reads, "Something followed you and won't stop hunting you," which is interesting because that implies to me that our main character came to FREDBEAR'S after the events of Secret of the Mimic, which makes me think of Arnold. But since this game is confirmed to take place right after the ending where Arnold is severely injured after he gets into a van crash, I don't think he could heal fast enough to be ready to come back to work, so it might not be him. So maybe the Mimic, while being in the forest, just followed someone all the way to FREDBEAR'S and decided to make them his new target. Emir said that we'll be playing as someone important, so it could be someone the Mimic recognizes that he wants to destroy for revenge. I'm not sure. Then there's White Tiger, which makes me think that in this exploration of the lore, White Tiger isn't restricted to one plot of land. He can show up wherever the Mimic goes, which would make sense given that he seems to be supernaturally tied to him. The use of "it's me" in the tiger's teaser image might be a nod to how Golden Freddy's phrases "it's me." I'm not sure if this is just a cool parallel or if they're gonna play into any theories about David Murray and the Crying Child being so similar, I guess. Oh, which reminds me, there's a picture in the office of a little boy holding ice cream under a tree. I'm not sure who this is. All the other pictures seem to be of William and Henry, so it could be the Crying Child, but we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, I'm very happy that White Tiger is here. I'm excited to see what they do with him. I almost forgot to mention, we might even see an exploration of Fall Fest. I don't think we'll get to play at Fall Fest, but it's likely to be mentioned. And I'd still love to see somebody make a fully 3D render of the entire festival outdoors. I just realized the Marionette has a poster here. We might even get to see this game explore her connection to Jackie, if Jackie was the inspiration for the Marionette or something. That'd be neat. As far as game mechanics go, Emir confirmed that it'll be kinda like the Joy of Creation, where there's gonna be sit and survive segments mixed with free roam gameplay, which is always great. So far, we've only seen the sit and survive section in the office, so we've most likely only seen just the tip of the iceberg regarding gameplay. For the office segment gameplay, so far we've seen the player getting up to reset the power. I'm not sure what that'll do, but I think it might have something to do with the screen telling us to reboot the system. Then there are the loudspeakers attached to the cameras that will probably serve as an audio lore mechanic. The fact there are curtains in the window makes me think that we'll have to shut them when White Tiger appears there, and as for the vent, either we'll have a door to shut, call them out of there, or seal the vent FNAF 3 style. But that about does it for gameplay predictions. It all looks really good so far. In fact, this might actually be very similar to FNAF 3's overall gameplay. There's one physical animatronic that you have to keep track of and lure away from you while a ghostly apparition is messing with you, except in this scenario, the ghost can also kill you. That's the sit and survive gameplay though. I'm excited to see what the free roam sections will offer. Maybe they'll have some stealth sections like the ones in Secret of the Mimic where you have to avoid M2 while he's wearing different costumes again. Regardless, I'm sure whatever they do will be really cool. But with that, we've covered all the current teasers for Meanwhile at FREDBEAR'S. If I'm not mistaken, this will be one of, if not the first FREDBEAR'S fan game to feature Secret of the Mimic in it so heavily, which is what makes this project stand out so much to me. Before 2025, the FNAF fandom had little to no idea what the timeline might have looked like when FREDBEAR'S was in its prime. For a decade, all we've had to go off of were the vibes of FNAF 4. But now, in this post-Secret of the Mimic era, we've been given a lot of interesting context surrounding the FNAF world and the earlier days of the timeline. I really hope that there'll be more fan games in the future about the modern FNAF stuff. There's so much to be explored and it deserves a chance to end up being as nostalgic as the classic era stuff someday. That's actually one of the things I love most about new official FNAF content. It's how the community will take the new concepts and work them into their own stuff. And with me being one of the biggest Secret of the Mimic fans, I am especially looking forward to the future of FREDBEAR Fangames, now that the creators have a little more to work with. Just look at this artwork carrying the spirals to symbolize the Mimic and how it fits with the 70s vibe. That's so cool. I'm definitely gonna play this when it releases and make another video on it at that point. But until then, I'll keep monitoring what they're doing and gush over it for everyone to see. If that interests you, consider sticking around. Thank you for watching, and I hope to brighten your day in another video.